Also, you did mention that the group gave you a couple of good recommendations that you thought you could run with. What were these recommendations and how did they help you accomplish your goals?
The two major things were um, changing the framing on how we ask the question. So I was saying in the idea of, hey, I'm looking for people that are entrepreneurial. I want employees that are entrepreneurial. And they came back and were like, listen, we are hearing what you're saying. And what you're actually saying is what you want is someone who is a lifelong learner, someone that always wants to grow, but not entrepreneurial. Entrepreneurial means they want to start their own business. What you actually want is someone that always wants to improve. And we think you'd have a better time in identifying that characteristic in people if you frame it that way. And I was like, oh, that's right. I described that as entrepreneurial, but it's not that I want. She's like, the problem, because then they said, if someone hears you're looking for entrepreneurial people and they say, well, I don't want to start my own business, they might not apply for that position because they think you're looking for someone who wants to come in short term and then leave. And I was like, huh, never thought about that. This is what you actually, so they helped me in me articulating the idea of why I hire certain kinds of people. They reframed how I assign that. And kind of to my previous point, that was one of those topics that we went back on 2 or 3 times. They really started to understand this is the strategy, this is the business structure. We see it in these people that are successful, and now we understand why this is part of the function, and here's a way to make it better. But that was one of those things that they clearly iterated on a couple of times. And that was a really interesting and really useful way of going back to me trying to explain my strategy and why I do things, and them parroting it, not parroting it back, but like them coming back and going, this is what we're hearing from you, and me going, oh, that's not what, that wasn't what I was trying to convey. So clearly I need to change how I'm communicating this. And they came back with some good suggestions on how to change the communication. They had a couple of good ideas around how to make sure we keep people engaged, how do we make sure we communicate stuff to that. The fact that we want, more training and things like that. One of the things that was the most valuable for us with a student group was me trying to explain what we do, why we do it, the culture around the people, because our topic was specifically about leadership and organizational behavior and hiring, recruiting, HR type issues like that. And trying to explain what is our business strategy and why I'm making specific hiring and staffing decisions to build a culture and how that culture links to the business strategy I've got. It's relatively uncommon for a small business owner to have actually taken the time to explain and go, okay, they have a business strategy, but it's whatever. Well, half the time the strategy is what's on fire. We'll go deal with that now. But it's uncommon for larger organizations have people whose job it is to make sure there is a strategy and to link the strategy to all the different operations and actions and decisions and tasks and things like that. And in a small business, nobody's in charge of that. And the business owners are oftentimes very busy that they have a strategy, but it's not really well articulated, that it's not necessarily impacting all of the things that they do day to day. And so having to basically teach the students about why we're doing what we're doing. I don't want to say teach them in the sense of like we're not doing a lesson plan, but like educate them, having to actually go into, having them go, well, why would you do it that way? I'm like, oh, well, we do it that way because blah, 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 blah. And it was a good way to really help me like streamline and actually like almost document for myself why I do things the way I do them. So put a little bit of discipline around that process. Like I said, I, I, I don't know if I would say, hey, here's a problem I have. Can you please solve the problem? I, I never expected that the student group would be able to do that because how are they going to be able to solve a problem, right? I've been doing this for 20 years. They've been doing it. They've literally never done it. How are they possibly going to have insight, experience, knowledge? They're never going to have any. They can't functionally do anything that's productive because they've never done anything, right? They've never really done any actual work before. And so if you're going in expecting them, way to think of them more as a facilitator, right, of ideas and concepts and things. and less a, you know, problem-solving consulting team, I think I think that expectation works really, really well, and I think it's extremely valuable. I think it's very valuable to have someone that's just, like I said, facilitation. You know, it's why large companies hire, you know, they have retreats and they'll hire a facilitator to come in and help them guide the process and go through things and ask the questions and make sure that we're going to ask questions about everything and we're going to write down and document all of the answers so we know what it was we said and we can follow up on that later, which is the kind of behavior that's just super uncommon in small business because they're busy running around doing stuff. And so that I think is the most valuable part of it. And that's part of where, you know, and that was my expectation going in. And I think that they probably, you know, delivered on that expectation pretty well.